Chap, you've spoken about systemic abandonment, a really provocative critique of how, no matter how well-intendedly we're raising our children in the secular culture. But what's particularly provocative is your insight, we're doing some of the same thing, replicating some of the same dynamics in our churches. What does systemic abandonment look like in our church world?
It's a very tough thing to think about in the church when we offer kids youth ministry, we offer them children's ministry, we offer them camps, mission trips, a lot of times a paid staff worker, some volunteers. And a lot of people say, hey, we pour a lot of money into our kids. And I hear that a bunch at churches where folks will say, we're giving so much to the youth and children of this church, how can you possibly say we're abandoning them? But the other way to think about it is, what are we actually doing to help pass on faith to our kids? We're actually often hiring somebody to do what it is a responsibility of us to do, all of us to do. And that is, our young people belong to all of us in the congregation. And as a community of believers, our role is to pass on a legacy of faith to our kids, a vibrancy, an inclusion, a recognition of their gifts that bring needed change to the church as it adapts to this culture. The gospel doesn't change, but our connection to what's going on in society. And when kids see the church as one more program, one more event, there's 4 ways we evaluate how youth ministry is successful. Do kids show up? Do they sit down? Do they shut up? And do they smile? And the 4 S's. If they show up, that means they like it. Our program's growing, it's healthy. Do they sit down? That means when we're ready to do our program, they comply. Do they shut up? When we talk, they listen. We actually think ministry is about us talking. And when they smile at the end, if they like what we're doing, if they like it, then we're successful. But the problem with that is we're not actually building anything coming from inside of them. Systemic abandonment is this concept that says we think it's better for us to control a kid's development and control a kid's growth in whatever the setting is. And in the church, we so easily say, as long as you show up, sit down, let me teach you. Let me give you classes. Let me take you on a mission trip. Let me always give the talks. Let me always do the music. Then what we get a bunch of kids that are spectators to the faith, as opposed to what does it mean to kind of elicit from them a journey that we can take their story and connect it to the story of faith and what God's up to. And then how do we listen to them as they attempt to integrate their life in what God's up to? And I think as youth ministry people, whether we're volunteer or paid staff or parachurch, we're going to be absolutely surprised when we allow kids the opportunity to explore their own story and connect it to God's story. And in that way, we are inviting them and abandoning our own expectations for what they should be and seeing what God would bring to the table as He works inside of these precious kids and they come and be a partner with us in the church.